All right, here we are. Let's start with chapter 1 in our Research and Medical Literature for Healthcare Professionals textbook by J. Glenn Forrister and J. Dennis Blessing. I think this is a really good textbook for this class, and I'm kind of excited about starting this journey into research. Now, I know that research can sometimes evoke some really strange or challenging emotions. Some see research as mysterious. We see it as difficult. It is neither, right? Um, so let's just kind of take a look. Let's be a little open with learning about research. The objectives of chapter 1 is first to be able to define research. Second, to describe the types of research. Third, I want you to be able to describe and discuss the importance of research for you as a healthcare professional. And then we're going to be looking at the beginning of developing a scientific approach to the study and practice of research and how we use it in our practice. So these are the benefits, right? Research provides an opportunity to explore, understand, and explain the practice. We're speaking of the practice of respiratory care, right? It helps healthcare professionals enhance their clinical careers, improve patient outcomes, and it helps you and it helps me understand research so that we know how to interpret and evaluate literature that comes out that's related to our patients and the type of treatment that we're going to provide for our patients, right? So this is the benefit, right? It's all about improving patient outcomes. Now, I kind of mentioned this, it conjures up a lot of the following images, right? Or different thoughts. Some may think that, you see an individual that's hidden away doing something unrelated to everyday life. You may even say or think that it's boring, that we force it on you, and that even doing this and getting this information has absolutely little to do with the real world or the applications of real world events, or that it's not something that you as a healthcare professional does in your clinical practice. All right. You may even think that research is difficult, right? And it can be difficult for many to understand because there are formulas and languages that sometimes only researchers will be able to comprehend. And a lot of times the results of research can be contradictory. And you'll find that in some of the articles that we read, you're going to find that they're going to say more research is needed, right? But research is the basis. It provides the basis for our practice, and it will be a part of our day-to-day job in the future. And that practice can only advance by applying the evidence of what works. I've told you this over and over. What we used to do, we don't do right now, because what we've found is that it is really something that was harmful to our patients. So research equals curiosity. There's these questions out there. So research is we're looking for an answer to a question, right? And a lot of research is informal and without systematic constraints. Looking up a word in the dictionary is a form of research, right? The good thing about research, now, it helps to relieve anxieties. It increases our ability to appreciate and enjoy processes, which we use, right, in healthcare. And learning research skills is a process, or it begins in training. So, look. Do you remember, and you may have, if you were in my courses in the past, I've told you that we used to use, it was nothing in the 80s to put our patients on 1,000 cc's of tidal volume. It's research, right? It was research that discovered that we were doing more damage to our patients' lungs Thank God they survived, but now we've improved our patients' outcomes by using smaller title volumes. Research helps to provide information that builds on a fund of knowledge. So what's happening is we've got this base of knowledge, but when we when we have more research, it builds on that knowledge base. And it's really important for you as a healthcare professional or a practitioner to be a lifelong learner, right? So that's what research does. It helps you learn how to learn. We call that metacognition. And it's going to help you meet the future healthcare challenges, because something we're doing now may not be something that we'll want to continue to do in the future. So research does, and it is, a process. There's data collection, there's statistical analysis, there's interpretation, and these can all seem a bit daunting. And so there's a lot of healthcare professionals who will say, no, I'm going to leave research to someone else. But even if you don't decide that you want to do systematic, ongoing research, you still need to be able to interpret and apply research as steps in your patient care. Okay, it's still really vitally important. So research takes on many forms, right? And it's categorized in various ways. There are different study designs available. And as I mentioned before, it adds to our knowledge at every level. Every format, every design adds to that cache or that fund of knowledge. And when we learn research and we learn the process, we now have this higher likelihood of finding results or answers to our questions. So these are the different types of research, folks, and this is in your textbook on pages 5 and 6. And I'm briefly going to tell you these are the types of research that we'll be gaining a little more perspective on. It's pure, there's experimental, there's clinical, there's applied, descriptive, and laboratory. So this is important for you to review this table. Table 1.1 is on page 5 and 6 of your textbook. Look, you don't have to be a genius to do research. You don't have to be mathematically gifted. You just have to have an interest. And so I'm hoping that I'm piquing your interest as we talk about this or as we're doing this introduction to research. Now, say you're going to develop a research project. You're going to do this research project, which you will be doing at the end of your 15 months in the bachelor's degree program. So what you're going to do is you are going to choose a project. And when we do that, the design of that project is going to be dependent upon knowing what is expected. You want to identify some clear parameters. You have to follow organizational guidelines. So for instance, in our programs, if you are doing some human experiment or it's something that's going to involve human interaction, there is a process by which you have to have approval for your project. Recognize that many organizations prescribe a specific scientific writing format. We will be using one mostly. You'll be developing a proposal, and I am asking that you submit that proposal in APA format. Okay. And then say you decide that you really want to get into research, and I know I've had a student in the past who says they're interested in this, but depending on the organization or the institution, they may assign a topic and a specific design for you as you pursue that research. Recognize that in doing a research project, there's many factors you have to consider and take into account, like time, there's effort, there's cost, resources, ability, right? You have to look at your own personal attributes, your personal interests, your personal resources, and your own expectations of yourself. Recognize and reflect on your strengths as a researcher and on your ability to accomplish a project. Okay, so these are the factors. And then it's important to locate, identify, seek out people with the skills in the area of interest, and then ask for their help. And you'll be surprised. People really do want to assist because research is it's amazing. It's just amazing. This is a scientific process. This is a scientific process that has been outlined in Forrister's textbook. It begins with the truth in the universe, identifying a problem in the practice or theory application or humankind, moves through to defining that problem, developing your hypothesis, your research question. Most of you will be developing a research question, coming up with doing your literature review, develop design, methodology, do data collection, analysis, get those results, interpret those results, come up with a conclusion, and then it's about disseminating that information either via a poster, publication, or a presentation. And that's what you will be covering in this course. This is a process. So this is what is being recommended. You will first develop a list of interest. Then you prioritize that list in the order of importance. And then, yes, once again, you do another list based upon your capabilities. And then, guess what? You revise that list based upon the important things, based upon what is important to your effort. And then you reprioritize again on what is important to society or to health. You make a decision about what can be accomplished. And then if you have a surviving or central topic that has come through all of those different lists, then that will be the basis of your research project. Always, always, folks, you need a timeline for your study, and then you get started. Right? Doesn't seem like it's that difficult. I don't believe it is. It's all dependent upon you, right? So that is chapter 1. Hopefully this gives you a nice overview. This is not a substitute for reading the chapter. All right. So have a good time, and I will see you or talk to you again in chapter 2.